Hi, everyone. It's Heidi M, and I'm virtually sitting with two members of the comedy troupe, TallBoyz. Nice to meet you, Tim and Guled.
Hey, nice to meet you too.
Hi, thanks for having us, Heidi.
So, for folks who might not be familiar, I hope they are, though, but TallBoyz is a comedy troupe that started way back when, 2018 or so? 20 before that?
2016?
Yeah,
16. Oh,
2016.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's how many members technically in the troupe?
Four.
I do like technically because I'm like, there's some unofficial members. We don't
Oh
talk
yeah,
about them, but it's
we
four.
got we got many unofficial. Yeah.
Mystery. Keep the mystery going. So before we talk a little bit about the troupe itself, maybe let's start with each of you just telling us a little bit about yourselves and how did you find that over the course of, growing up, comedy was the thing you wanted to do, or one of the things you wanted to do. Who'd like to
Uh,
start?
yeah, I mean, for me, comedy was never in the cards. I was just kind of going through life. I was an undergrad student doing a science degree. I thought I would do med school, but then I saw my grades after the first year and said maybe I made that decision for myself. I was like, I won't let them reject me. I'll reject myself. And so I was an undergrad for a long time. I was going to maybe do a master's in public health, but then this coordinator of a program, a volunteer program on campus, was like, "You don't like this thing. What would you do if money were an obstacle?" And so I told her, I was like, "Oh, I'd do comedy," and she's like, "Well, why don't you try comedy?" And
Oh, wow.
I did, and that's how I got into comedy. I did love comedy growing up, but I never
Hmm.
looked at it as a career. I thought there's people who do comedy and then there's regular people.
Good point. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I was always definitely a fan of comedy growing up, but I got my start. I was fortunate enough to go to an arts high school, a Etobicoke School of the Arts, and I was in the drama program there. And in grade 10, they have a stand-up comedy unit where everybody has to do 2 minutes of stand-up comedy and perform it for the rest of the class. And it was one of the most engaged I've ever been in a piece of homework. I got 100% on the grade, and I had so much fun, like just looking up other comedians' research and writing my own material that I decided to stick with it.
That's a cool shout out to Tobico School of the Arts. I know friends that have gone there over the years, so it's always nice to hear that everybody has had a good experience in terms of finding a voice there.
Yeah, definitely very fortunate to definitely gave me the courage to pursue comedy or and an artistic field, and
Mhm.
just explore interests there. So yeah, very lucky.
Mhm. So tell me how it is that the four of you, core members, we'll call you, sort of got together and became. I think initially I was reading a little bit about the history. You did like a review called Six and Review back in the day at the Toronto Fringe Fest, and then some work like that. So how did that start in terms of meeting each other and kind of becoming this troupe?
Well, Guled and I met through the Toronto stand-up comedy scene. We had started comedy within a couple of weeks of each other. Uh, and we actually lived in the same neighborhood. So after a lot of open mics, we'd take the same bus or subway home and started to chat, and that's how we got to know each other. And I was able to meet Vance, another one of our members, who went to the Humber College comedy writing program.
Okay.
That's where I went after high school, and Vance also went there, and we were friends and classmates. And then we also met Franco, who had been doing stand up for longer than us through the stand up comedy scene.
Mhm.
Guled and Franco used to run a show together at one point at the Monarch Tavern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So moving into becoming TallBoyz, was that a decision of, what was a creative decision in terms of naming, like switching the name of the group? And sort of what was that discussion like? And then moving into this bigger platform, which was a television series.
I mean, it started, it happened all very fast
Mhm.
because when Tim sent out the message to form the troupe, it was to apply for Toronto Sketch Fest. He was like, you guys want to make a troupe and apply for Sketchfest? And Franco and I were like, great, because he was already coming with Vance. They were going to perform together. And
Mhm.
so when we went out on our first outing, like I don't, there's a video of that recording that we've never seen. And so, but it was such an amazing first, outing. And so the producers of the fest loved us so much. And we didn't know at the time that the producers we ended up working with on the TV show were also small sponsors of the festival, and they were scouting talent as well.
Mhm.
And so the Toronto Sketch Fest guys were like, they told our producers, would-be producers, you guys should go check this troupe out. And so they saw us perform at the Best of Fest and were like, we like you guys. They asked me, like, do you want to make a TV show? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so then after that, like, we had our name that was given to us by another friend in the comedy scene. She's like, yes, you call yourself TallBoyz. And then I had my sister do a photo shoot where we cut very deep V's in our t-shirts, and it was fall and it looked sexy. And I just called it TallBoyz to Men, just out as a joke.
Mhm.
And then I think it was Franco or Tim. Someone was like, oh, that's a great name. We should just make that the troupe. And
Mhm.
so then we did that for a while until the TV show opportunity came, and they're like, oh, maybe it'd just be clear if it was just TallBoyz as
Right.
opposed to the pun of TallBoyz, which I think would have been
I
fun.
still
But I
like
think
it.
the
I
one
still.
name, yeah, it's, I guess one name like Cher, it's powerful, right? So maybe that's what they were going for. They're like, let it have power, TallBoyz.
Right, right. I mean, it works either way, I think, you know? So it sounded like you said it was a whirlwind sort of, you know, timeline for you. What were some lessons learned or anything that you took away from? Because you did 3 seasons, I believe, of the series. And what was that like in terms of, you know, your involvement in writing and recording and all of that fun stuff?
Yeah. We were in the writers' room, writers, and eventually in the third season we became executive producers. So it was a big learning experience for us all. Of
Mhm.
course, having only come from live performance before then, and before we got the TV show, we had pretty much written all of our sketch through collective creation through improv. So
Mhm.
we would sit down, talk to each other like about ideas, and something would make us laugh, and then we'd all four of us get up, start improvising a thing around that idea, and then be like, oh, we like that, we like this, and we kind of kept what we like and shaped into a sketch. But then we'd go out and perform it at a show, see what works. It was a very fun but a time consuming process. So when you're on TV, there's a much more sharp deadline that you have to keep up with.
Right.
So we had to like work on, like, we'd still down together, talk and pitch ideas, but then go off in our own or pairs and write the sketch out, and like learning script format, and how to play with things like visual gags and like other things you can do when you're in the medium of television rather just on stage, playing with imagination where anything anything you can visualize in your head could be on stage. But now we
Right.
had to work with a budget and also work with like seeding it throughout the script. So it was definitely a big learning curve. And also all the decisions that get made into putting something on television show, afterwards writing a script and getting our ideas down. That was only step one. We got to hire a team and talk to a whole team about bringing these ideas and props and characters and costumes to life, and like thinking like, oh, would he look like this, or would this character wear this? So it was quite the learning experience. Yeah.
Mhm. Anything you'd like to add, Guled?
No, I mean, I'll second what Tim said. It was, I feel like it was like a comedy incubator of sorts, because we
Mm.
were coming from, truly at times, like, because we applied for our first sketch fest is when we first started like actually committing the ideas to paper, because before that Tim had the great idea of like, we should just record our sets. And then we would watch the sets back and then just learn the sets through that, and then make edits and tell each other, all right, change this line when we're doing it. I'm surprised how well we kept all of that in our heads with no paper to refer to it. But when a tech person needs a script, and I think that was helpful, because then when we started going to TV, we're like, okay, we started writing scripts, so we maybe understand a little bit how to like put a script together, but then we had to learn, formatting and
Mhm.
stage. It's just stage, someone walks on, you got to put interior, exterior, so simple things like that, where it's like, oh, you need a slug line, you need some sort of like, people need to come into the place. You can't be like, all right, I'm in a room and I say funny stuff and we go from there.
That's so true, right? And it's sort of like a different sort of vibe, I would guess, too, because now it's not just the four of you on stage when you would be recording, and there are other people that you're interacting with as well and feeding off each other too, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. There's a whole crew just off camera when you're doing it all bit. And the whole job is, not to laugh. Whereas on stage, everyone around you is, audibly like, laughing at, oh, I know this is a good idea because the crowd laughs. Like that comes from our stand-up and live performing instincts, where you get to set and you do a bit, and like the stagehand are like, have to stop themselves from laughing, or they're not doing their job as best as possible. So it's definitely kind of retraining yourself a little bit. Like you still get some laughs here and there, especially at the end of the cut, or a really big bold choice no one saw coming, but for the most part, they can't laugh, or they're bad at their job.
That's a good point. I'm wondering if there was anything from the series that was there a sketch or a process that you have kept with you as a memento of sorts, that kind of you always kind of like, oh, that was great, or anything you took away with you?
I mean, please go ahead. Definitely, like this writing process, because now we don't all live in the same city at the same time, so right. Being able to write solo and come back and give each other feedback and punch up our sketch was such a valuable skill, because that's how we've been developing a lot of this new material for our new show is separately. Like we don't have the luxury to be able to be in a room all together and improvise everything out. So that was very valuable.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I wish now, as you talk about that, I'm like, oh, I wish I kept stuff. I took some stuff from, I think the art department, the end, like, hey, can I grab this thing here? But I was like, oh, I never thought about mementos, because it was so, it was terrifying for a good chunk of it. So I was just like, I was like folding up everything, putting it back on, the hangers. And I was like, I don't want to be the reason that this show, they're like, he just threw his socks in the ground. I think we're done. The show's over.
Let's be a diva.
I know.
Socks on the floor.
I know. Sorry. I didn't know where to put them. I thought the floor, it made sense.
Yeah, I know. I like that question. Another friend tends to ask that question anytime I'm on his podcast, in terms of things that you take away with you when it could be like movies or any kind of other things, but it's a good question. It makes you kind of think back as well in terms of the experience that you've had.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it feels terrifying to like some of these things got reused, but other things, it's like, this is a one-time thing that might get thrown out. But I didn't have the wherewithal to even think about that. I was like, everything is important. They're going to document it. They're going to be like, someone took the ring,
Yeah, for sure. So would you say, I know you're going to be part of Toronto Sketch Fest this year, so congratulations on coming back. It's always a fun fest. And it's sort of a reunion tour. But would you say that, the time as that you had in the TV series was a good length, and like it was a good to move forward in terms of other things after that?
Absolutely. Like I think we were definitely very fortunate to get 3 seasons. A lot of shows aren't afforded that, and that allowed us to grow, because we learned so much the first season, but it's also kind of putting the train tracks down as the train was going, of like, oh, we're on a deadline, we got to learn these skills so we can match it. And then to get the second and the third really allowed us space to grow more confident in our decision making and understanding the whole apparatus of making a television show. So definitely, like, I wouldn't have complained if we got more. I'll say that, definitely would have been nice. But I'm very grateful that we got the time we had, because like, we learned and grew in our skills and became confident. And like, definitely, I think our third season was the best. Like, we were just improving each time, and also got to revisit themes and ideas from earlier seasons and change and grow.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Would you say that there was a change or a kind of in your audiences too, and how you might have been more recognizable because of the TV series if you were also doing any kind of work on the road, individually or as a group? I don't know.
It was interesting because we had the first season and then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So the last two seasons were during the pandemic and coming out of the lockdowns.
Yeah.
So this will be, I think, maybe the second time because we did one other show at Theater Center about a year and a half ago, where we were doing like a lot of sketch.
Mm-hmm.
But this will be, I think, it feels like a return to our original form of doing full sketch at the festival that we started at. So it'll be interesting to see what that audience looks like. I imagine it'll still be a lot of peers and friends and colleagues in the scene. But I'm excited to meet TallBoyz fans, people who maybe have never seen our live show and have only seen us on TV. And so I'm excited to have that experience because it felt like during the pandemic, I would bump into people sometimes in public. And then when I would get introduced on shows, I felt nervous because it's like, man, you saw a TV show and now I'm going here solo. I'm funnier with three other people. So I just felt this pressure. And I would ask people initially just out of that like nervousness. I'm like, how many of you guys have seen the show? And it would be like about a person, three people, maybe, so then I realized, oh, I'm kind of still functioning in the same place as I was before the show because
Right.
the beauty of Canadian TV is like we got to make an amazing show that not a lot of people saw, So I think it's going to be exciting, I think, to see and meet the TallBoyz fans and being like, yeah, I've never been on this side of doing comedy,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because the pandemic definitely didn't get to see too many of them. Got to bump into a few here and there, and we've mostly only done shows here in Ontario and Montreal. So definitely seen online like post pandemic. And as we announced the show, we called the reunion tour, because it's the first show we're doing in almost 2 years. But got a lot of love and outpouring from people in other provinces, hoping for us to, hopefully take the show on the road and take it there, which was really great to see. And it's also like, yeah, there's a lot of other people in other places who we've never had the chance to perform for. So it'd be great to see this. And I will say on the celebrity factor, I think, Guled just being 6'7". I remember before we had the TV show, before we were or anything, people would stop him in the street to take photos with him. So it's always kind of like a celebrity to me.
It's about even, for me, it's about the same.
Yeah, you're all speaking from a very short person. You are. And I've only seen you from far too, in terms of being at TO Sketchfest in the past. So,
we're bigger up close.
Yeah.
So I am very much looking forward to this reunion tour. I think it's March 16th at Toronto Sketchfest. I have a soft spot for the festival myself. It was one of the last events I attended before lockdown, so it's always nice to go back, and kind of discover new comedy faves and see seasoned folks like yourselves. Now, what can we expect? Do you have a lot of new material? You talked about how you're kind of working collaboratively still, even if you're in the same city. So do we expect to see a lot of new material? Are you also polishing some old stuff that we can look forward to?
It's a mix.
Yeah. 50-50. Yeah, 50-50 mix of old and newer classics and some stuff we haven't done in a while. And then of course some brand new stuff, just because it's fun to flex those muscles again and get to write and bounce off ideas off of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And will there be an opportunity, you think, or maybe we'll put it out into the universe, as people say, to tour the reunion show across Canada or elsewhere?
I mean, listen, yes, we'd love to do that. I mean, it's something we've talked about I think for like the last year or so. We've been talking about like figuring out the steps for that. Because I think the show was such a great experience, but also an intense experience. And so I feel like we needed a bit of time to recover from that and then, recalibrate, so to say. So I think we're getting there, and this is actually truly a testing ground for that of we're coming back to the fest where we have, let's say home court advantage. We're playing at a place where it's going to be, people who love us already. And so being like, let's see what it's like in the best case scenario.
Right.
And then let's gauge being like, all right, cool. I think we have, because, I mean, people will still be, the excitement will be there, but they'll still want to see a good show. So, the excitement I'm sure will carry us for a bit, but not for the entire hour of the show. So that will be interesting to see, being like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. That's fair. This joke wasn't good. Okay, we got to cut. Because also, since we're not doing a lot of this stuff, we haven't, the newer stuff we haven't done live.
Mhm.
We're just trusting in our abilities that we've built from doing live shows and doing the TV show that these jokes will land. But always, the live audience is the true arbiter. So we'll find out when we get there if they're like, yeah, we don't like this concept at all. And we'll be like, well, I guess we got another 3 minutes of this idea. So, we're not going to call it. We're just going to commit extra hard.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because I think also audiences have changed over the years because of the lockdowns and all the different things that this pandemic brought. So I think it should be fun in any case, to just be together as a group again.
Absolutely.
And another question just before I kind of wrap up, I wanted to ask if each of you are still doing any kind of solo work, or what else are you up to on your own?
Yeah, still performing a lot of like stand up. Oh, my light just changed. Right,
It's fun. It's all groovy.
I'm partying, becoming a DJ.
I love it.
Still doing a lot of stand up solo. Around the city and working on like sketches for online and stuff. Still trying to keep busy. Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, no, same here. It took a little break, but coming back to doing stand up, and I was doing improv for a while. Would love to get back into that. And it's fun to also do improv with these guys, but it's harder when we're all remote to
Right.
do that. But mostly stand up, and then trying to write some more. And I mean, I love these guys. So if we got an opportunity to just work together and just make something else, it's always going to be a yes. So yeah, excited for that.
Very cool. So if we want to find out what's happening, how do we find you? Is Instagram the place to find you, or any other socials or websites?
TallBoyz has an account on all the socials at TallBoyz with a Z or Z at the end is a show. At TallBoyz is a show on all socials. And then, I'm on all socials myself at Tim Blair, but the Tim and the Blair are spelled with L's, no I's, all L's. Just because it looks like Tim Blair in the handle, but it was already taken. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, and you can find me at Guled. It's GUL, the number 3 and D. And then I'm mostly on. I guess Instagram is a place I will post more often.
Yeah, I ask that now more regularly, because I find that even when I've gone to events, or people are like, "What's your handle?" And it's like, okay, no one really wants to really find me any other way. So
yeah,
but it's true. I tend to post a lot of events to share with people that want to have fun in the city on the socials more readily, right? So yeah, so happy to support. Thank you both so much. I am very much looking forward to the show on the 16th, and hopefully I'll get to say hello.
Yes,
absolutely.
So we'd love to meet you in person.
Please do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Great to meet you, Heidi.
Thanks.